The Speaker recognizes Representative Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to speak to the entire package of bills, if I may, and I'm here to say that I rise in support of this package of legislation, and I want to begin by congratulating the members, particularly Representative Stallworth and the members on really both sides of the aisle who have worked so hard. Speaker Pro Tem Walsh has really shown leadership that I hope will set a pattern for what we do going forward, whatever length of time you have left in this chamber. I think it's really important that we've made a real change here, and hopefully this is something we can keep going. Among all the members who are in this chamber, I think I hold a distinction, at least one distinction, and that is that I have lived in or near all three of the cities that have been sort of the pattern for this bankruptcy conversation: New York City, Washington, D.C., and I live and represent Royal Oak, which is 2 miles north of the city of Detroit. So maybe it's something about me. Every place I go seems to have trouble with bankruptcy. I'm not really sure. I don't think that's happening in the city of Royal Oak. Rest assured, I want to make sure my folks back home don't think that's happening because I'm there. But I want to emphasize to everybody, a lot of good things have been said, but I think there are a few things that we need to cover that I'm going to hopefully touch on effectively here. This legislation has come a long way from where it was when it was first introduced. And that's a credit to the people on both sides of the aisle who've been willing to work on this legislation with help from people in the administration and obviously those who are participating in the bankruptcy process. We really began with a package of bills that I was very concerned about. I mean, I looked at these bills and I didn't see really a package that anybody would vote for. And today, I think we have a package of bills that I look at and I struggle to find any reason not to vote for these bills. Now, I think the most important thing that we need to think about here is balance. There is no perfect bill. We've all heard that before. But the most important thing we need to understand here is we're trying to balance the need to return democracy and the control of the city back to the people to whom it belongs, the people of Detroit, with the need to ensure that never again are the people of Detroit and the people of Michigan subjected to the results of gross mismanagement. And that's gross mismanagement on the part of not just people in Detroit, not just the leadership of Detroit, but really the state of Michigan. But that's not what the people of Michigan want us to focus on today. What they want us to focus on is the future and where we can go from today. Now, so there's really no point in talking about billions of revenue sharing cuts or billions of dollars in malfeasance and in some cases even corruption that got us to this point. The question is, where are we going from here? I think the important thing to focus on finally is this legislation is really not about the city's finances, it's about the city's retirees. And it's about giving a vote of confidence to the city's leadership, to Mayor Duggan, to President Brenda Jones, and the members of the City Council, who so far in their early terms have been showing every evidence that they are really opening a new chapter in the history of the city of Detroit. And I think we need to respond to their leadership with leadership of our own. And I'm hoping that's what we'll do today. Now, to those who are afraid that this package is going to lead to 2 or more decades of control over the city of Detroit by outside agents, I think you haven't read the legislation. Because this legislation provides that if the city of Detroit maintains a balanced budget for 3 years in a row, the Oversight Committee goes into dormancy and is only returned to active duty, if you will, if the financial parameters that the legislation requires are violated. This is very much like the deal that the city of New York struck with New York State in the 1970s, and that is a deal that is still in place today. And I am not aware of people in the city of New York complaining that somebody else is running their city. Now, I realize, and this is a very important thing for all of us to recognize, we are not New York. I happened to live in the city as a 10-year-old kid when Governor Hugh Carey, a Democrat, imposed a very difficult solution on a Democratic city of New York. Now, we don't have that situation here today. We have partisan differences that have grown much more severe in the years since the 70s, and we have very divided state in many ways politically. And I'm not naive enough to think that the votes we cast today are going to change all of that, but I think the only thing that will change that is action, not words. And if we fail to act, we are going to subject people who have retired from the city of Detroit and the people of Michigan to a train wreck, a financial train wreck, the likes of which nobody has ever seen in this state, really in this country, I think. So all of us who are thinking and contemplating a no vote, now I realize there are reasons to vote no for some of you, and I respect your decisions, and I respect your view of what your constituents want you to do, but bear in mind that if this goes down, we face a train wreck. And I don't think we need to do that, and I think the great majority of members today will make the right decision and avoid that train wreck. The last thing I want to say is that if you represent a city that is in financial turmoil, and I know many, many of us do, I can understand, I think many of us understand the difficult decision you're facing and the logic that you're considering. You're thinking, well, where's my city in all of this? Nobody's taking care of my city. Nobody's taking care of my school district, for example. But I think it's important for all of us to realize that your city or your school district bears a much smaller chance of getting support, getting the aid it deserves if we vote this package down. And I think if we pass this package and put it on the governor's desk, we've set a precedent, the right kind of precedent, that the state of Michigan has an obligation, that the oath of office that each of us took, which is to not only represent our own districts, but the entire state of Michigan, is true every single day that we walk in here. And so, with that in mind, I just urge everybody here to vote your conscience, but please vote the true interests of your city, and support this package. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the time.